Hey everybody, let's get into some basic Google Slides action so we can use this to work on our presentations and our lesson plans for this week. So your overall goal this week is actually a twofold lesson. Lesson one is to create a interactive lesson that the students can use. You're going to be using Pear Deck to ask questions and basically make sure that your students are following along and paying attention and making sure that they understand everything that's happening. And then the second part is an interactive one where they work together in the slides. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to try and look at a whole different way of using Google Slides. I know it's a great presentation tool, but I want to make sure you know the basics. We got the real basics down when we do the scavenger hunt, right? We really kind of look at how all of that works. But now I want to look at a little bit more basics, some things that you can use to make your presentations a little bit more enjoyable, some lesson plan ideas that you can throw in there. So that maybe you're not just kind of doing the same old thing. So the first thing on here, and then this presentation will be viewable and usable on my website. So you'll be able to click on the links and go everywhere. But this video just kind of takes you through what everything is so that you have a nice understanding. So the first thing is when we click on this first link, it's going to open up a huge 12-page overview of Google Slides, how to access it, how to create new presentations. This is the basics of the basics. All right. There's a lot of stuff that we just went through in the scavenger hunt. So I don't want to take forever to go through it, but there are some good things in here. So if you have time or you have a question, this is a great reference tool to go back and use. Like I said, we do most of this in the scavenger hunt, so I'm not going to take a lot of time to really go through, but it is a great tool. Make a copy for yourself. Again, to make a copy, just go up here. Instead of edit, just type in copy and hit return, and you'll be able to make your own copy. And then this way you can keep it in your drive and you can use it whenever you want. All right, next thing. Themes. So we went over Google Themes, right? We went over the basics of themes, but this is two awesome websites that you can use to go beyond the normal theme. So if you click on Slides Carnival, you'll see these are some of the more popular ones up here. And then as you go through, these are more recent published ones that you can grab onto. And there's everything. Now this right here is like an advertisement, kind of throws you in there because you think to yourself, oh, here's first grade ones, but no, that's an advertisement. So watch yourself. But these are some very popular templates that you can use and just kind of grab. These are different by style, all right, or by topic, by color. So don't be afraid to jump on and use some of these and see if you can't enjoy making this part of what you do. And then you can even modify them as you go. The other one that is there is Slides Go. And again, just some more, templates that you can use. Try and get yourself out of the norm of what they offer. I mean, the COVID outbreak thesis, right? There's all sorts of stuff on here that you can kind of play with and use as your own to really build an online notebook. Some of these are really fun, and I'll show you what that looks like. But if you look, here's download this template, and you just click on the Google slide and make a copy because that's what it wants you to do. This way, you're not interrupting everybody else's work. And of course, it'll take a minute because that's what it does, right? And now here I am. I have a Google slide that I can use. My computer thinks I'm talking to it. All right, and it gives you some directions, right? Contents, table of contents. It looks like a notebook, so you can make it interactive and kind of run with it. These are kind of cool, right? So especially if you are online all the time, making a notebook like this, you don't have to do all the work. It's kind of done for you. You can kind of jump in there and make your own. All right, so that's just a great way to grab something that's a little bit easier. You put your content in, but it's there. So now you can only download one more template. So just watch yourself, register and you get 10 free templates every month. It will go on the premium. Again, I never ask you guys to pay for anything, but if you want to use it, I would just do the sign in, get 10 free, and just keep building my base, or you can go premium. It's completely up to you. All right, so let's go back. Or you could choose a theme, use a Google slide theme, make a copy. All right, we talk about that a little bit in the way that we do our or when we do our scavenger hunt. So background, again, this is we kind of hit this when we go through our scavenger hunt, but when we're talking about our slides, we're looking at our backgrounds. If you're building one on your own, you can do all sorts of stuff, linear, radial. This is a gradients, where it starts out one color and kind of shifts into either, fades out or morphs into a new color. It's a great way to kind of just bring a little bit of difference into your presentation, because a lot of times if it's just flat blue all the time, you get lost. The colors of the words are the same, the flat blue or the flat red or whatever it is. It's just there. When you put a gradient in, it allows for a little bit of change, a little bit of contrast, and your audience will focus a little bit more. It's a great way to kind of liven up your presentation. And you can use the background even in the templates, right? So don't be afraid to go on and mess around with it. And you can see up here, like the radial is one color in the center and it flares out. Linear is one color up top and it goes to another. So it is kind of neat to play with. I tend to use these a lot for maybe buttons on a website or something like that, so that it kind of catches your eye. All right, custom size and custom slide size, right? So we talk about this a little bit in the scavenger hunt when we go up to file and we go to page size. When we did that in the Google Docs scavenger hunt, it's the same exact thing. When we change the size of our Google Slides, there's a video here. I'm going to get rid of that menu because I don't need it. It's only 35 seconds. There we go. It's starting to load now.
You can change the page size of Google Slides by going up to File, Page Setup, and then choosing Custom in the drop-down.
It's just like we did when we did in the Google Docs. You can change the landscape or portrait. Same concept. It's exactly what they're doing in this video. All right, so just kind of keep that in mind. You can change it. There is directions here. Docs Editor help to go through how you can do it. All right, in this lecture tonight, I'm giving you lots of places to find things. I will tell you that the amount of information that you need to know to get all of this is massive. You have slides, docs, forms, websites, Jamboard. There's 35 different items that you can use, and knowing the exact location of everything is always going to be tough. So what I'm trying to do is build up your library of places and things that you can use to go to, not necessarily memorize, but at least when you're starting to build a Google slide, if you have a question, you have a reference point now. And that's really kind of what this class is all about, is being a reference point for your future projects and your future creations. I want you to practice it, and I want you to kind of see where it's at, but we're also building a library of things for you to do. All right. There we go. Speaker notes. So I should probably use these more. I never use speaker notes. Speaker notes are usually when you present and you're using a home base computer. At the bottom, there will be speaker notes that you can use to go through and make sure that you're covering all the things that you want to do. It's a great way to do all of it. Says, like, recall the important points. It's only visible to me as the presenter. You can print them out. So if a student needs not only the presentation, but what you said, or at least your highlights, you can print them out for them. In the presenter view, you see your notes and you create a back channel for questions. So there is a way. I'm not going to go too crazy into all this, but you can create back channels, which means that while I'm giving a presentation, you could be asking questions on the side, and I can go through and answer those questions as we talk. Again, I'm just trying to give some basics and go over stuff. I don't want to get that in depth right now, but it is an awesome way to get students to be a little bit more interactive. This week, I want you to use the Pear Deck to make it interactive, and I want to create something that's interactive that they all work on. So I'm kind of limiting what your interactivity would be, but it is available. And then these two show you or give you directions on exactly how to use the presenter view and how to use voices to speak into and create your speaker notes that way, so that you're not typing it all out. You can just speak through. Slide animation. Again, we go through this in the scavenger hunt a little bit. I mean, the scavenger hunt was a quick one, right? We did what we needed to do and we jumped out. But it is important to understand how to make the animations, because again, as a slide changes, if it's just a click, if somebody's not paying attention, they're going to miss the fact that you changed your slide. So definitely need to make sure that you do it. And again, this video goes through the whole concept. It's a 2-minute video, not that big of a deal.
Try adding some animations. Any object can be animated, making it move or fade in or out of the slide. To add an animation, right-click the desired object, then select Animate. The Animations pane will appear. A default animation will be added to the selected object.
So again, if you remember, we did this exact thing when we were in. I made the beach ball spin, same exact thing. That's all the animation is. Again, it's just to recapture your audience's attention. When we're in it, I mean, you're here listening to me speak now, and going through all this, right? It gets boring. I mean, there's not much more I can do to spice it up right this minute, but it gets boring. And as a presenter, you've got to know that if you don't spice it up a little bit, if you don't change things up a little bit, you're going to lose people. And I know, my lectures go on and on, but there's certain stuff I have to cover. And just realize when you're presenting, you can use these things to kind of re-grab people's attentions, and it's definitely a necessity when you're working. So if you don't remember how to do it from when we did the scavenger hunt, jump back on here. Again, it's only 2.5 minutes, and it's going to show you all the steps that are necessary to go through and animate some of those things. All right, you can add the animation. Add transitions, right? We did this too in the, or we're going to do this too in the scavenger hunt. It's when a slide, a basic slide, jumps out and a new slide comes in, or they merge together and, what have you. But the slides, again, should it be overwhelming? No. Do you want every slide to have crazy stuff all over the place? No, because people get confused. But at the same time, if it's just flat, if it's just a basic kind of thing, you're going to lose your audience. So having, a slide animation, having a slide transition, having different color, backgrounds that are, radiant or what have you, it adds to your presentation, and it keeps people's attention much longer than if you just put up a flat presentation. It gets a little monotonous if you do that. All right, texts. Again, and I went through, when you're creating these presentations, when you're creating things, when I create anything, I try to add little bits of different flair, because I want people to look in specific areas. So if there's, just up here, Mary Kate is one of the trainers I work with constantly. She's the one that actually built this, and she has no problem with me using it. So don't think I'm, breaking the law or anything. But, she puts this up here as a shadow situation, right? And the first thing that you do is you kind of pulls your eye to that, because you see that double text. She really accented it because she wanted you to be able to see it. But normally you would kind of keep it close and maybe back off to the side a little bit, and it would allow your eye to kind of catch there, and really see that shadow effect. And that really, again, using effects like that in your text, the size, the position, the drop shadow, that's what that's called, right? One text box at a time, you can do these things, and you'll see when we build when we do the scavenger hunt, I think it's the very second to last one. It asks you to make a bullet point or a bulleted list, and it says, animate these. And I animated the whole thing one shot. It was driving me nuts at that point. So you'll see that, we just animated one shot, but you would have to do one text box at a time to really animate. I don't go that crazy. I think when you do that, again, it gets a little monotonous for the viewer that, hey, here comes a slide. All right, here comes the next slide. I like to just put it up. My students are taking notes. They're writing vigorously to keep up with what I'm saying. The last thing I want to do is, okay, here's one more. And as well as the speaker, like if there is one more and you forget about it, you don't look too good. So I tend to do it as one chunk. To me, it just makes more sense that way. But you definitely have that ability. But text can be another way of grabbing the attention, focusing on things, making sure that the audience is where they're supposed to be. Format images. We can create, we can position, we can color, we can shadow, we can reflect, all sorts of things when we are talking about the creation of a presentation. So if I just real quick jump out of this and I get my menu back, assuming I can, right? So I got this guy here. Here's a perfect example. I said to myself I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to, right? I'm gonna do stuff as we go just because I can. So, right, resize or rotate, grab that little blue button there, and we can rotate him however we want, right? But the other cool part is, and I'm going to move myself up here, when we click on him, right, we have all sorts of format options here. I can recolor him, as a blue, all right, or black if you want to, or purple. I guess that's purple, right? Purple. So you can reformat, or if after you played around for a minute, you're like, nah, I'm good. You go back to no color whatsoever. So you can take something that, I've seen that emoji before. It's not a big deal. And you can make it a little different. If I want to do a drop shadow, I click on that box right there. Now watch, I'm going to add a shadow to him. And now you add a shadow. And again, if I change my angle, it looks like the light's kind of coming in from one side or another. Your blur radius just means how fuzzy the background will be. Depending on what I'm doing, sometimes I have a perfect blur radius. I don't want it to be. But in this case, like we're doing a little shadow, that's pretty cool. It adds a little bit of an effect that it kind of pulls him off of your presentation. So now that when you go and you look at him, he looks a little bit more three-dimensional. Looks a little bit more like it's pulling him off the paper. And you know what? Yeah, granted, right now you're probably like, yeah, what's the big deal? But I'll tell you what, if you give a bunch of first graders that image to look at, they're going to be like, wow, he's really cool, right? So it adds to the effect of what you're doing. You can cut and crop off an area into a shape. So if I double-click this guy, you see the black line that goes around. If I move that, I just cropped him, right? So I'm going to undo that because I don't want him to be half chopped off, right? But there he is. So you can do a lot of things when it comes to formatting images. This right here allows you to make them as big as you want and to really kind of have some fun with them. There's the reflection, right? And if you notice, the minute I did that, look, go back a second there. Sorry about that. Go back. All right, if you notice, the minute I did that, that reflection came up. So let me take it off again. See, it's gone. Now it comes back up, right? So if I move him up, I'm just going to pop him up there, right? There's his reflection, all right? And again, the transparency there, you can make it as transparent. You can make the distance as big as you want from him, all right? The size, all right? So I get a little bit more face in his reflection. If I want a complete reflection, I can pretty much do that. All right. So it is important to know that you have that ability to take probably the little things and really animate them into something that your students will use. And it takes a while to build in this manner, right? It takes a while to put a shadow on there and cut him out and do all of that. You'll see that when we do the, I think when I do the first part of your project this week, which is the Pear Deck, I show you a site called remove.bg. And when you go there, you can take any picture and remove the background. And that allows you to take an emoji that you find online, remove the background, and really make it into, your own kind of presentation. And that's very important, right? Mary Kate and I, we find the videos, we put all this stuff together, we build all these things because we want it to be ours. We want it to look the way we want. We want it to reflect what we're trying to do. And as teachers, you have to do that too. If you were to give this presentation to a bunch of middle schoolers, they'd be like, all right, this is boring and dumb, right? I'm pretty much, you might be sitting home right now going, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm still watching this, right? But this is created for a professional group to use as a library for future reference, right? So you have to think about what you're building and how it reflects on the people that you're doing. All right, you can format videos, right? You can, in this, you can insert videos, right? You can get them from your drive. You can get them by URL. Again, remember the URL problem. The URL problem can really be big if you don't know the source. You can do it by YouTube. Right, you type in the YouTube URL of the video you want, you hit search, and it will come up, and you just enter it. And let me see here real quick. I'm trying to remember how we put this one. All right, so this one is, all right, this one's a YouTube video. So if I enlarge it, share, let's see. All right, so here's our YouTube link, right? So I'm going to copy that link. Let me just show you how we can put that in real quick. And I'm just going to put it on this same slide just for the heck of it. So I'm going to insert, and I'm going to go video, and I'm going to type that URL, and I'm going to hit search. And sure enough, there's Alice Keeler's video. And when I click on it, I'm going to hit select. And now here it is. So you can not only just put the whole video in, but there's start and stop time. All right, you can mute the audio. So if you wanted to do something like I'm doing now and you wanted to talk over a video that's running, you can do that. Again, you can do size and shape. You can even add a drop shadow to your video. Here's, for the heck of it, just to kind of put it off to one side, and now it looks like your video has a shadow to it. So it's relatively easy, and the technology is getting better and better. When Google Slides first came out, you could embed a video, but you couldn't pick the starting and stopping time and whether it started automatically or not. Those things were not allowed. The technology wasn't there. So it's definitely gained a lot of speed and momentum in this process, right? And the one thing I'm going to tell you guys is, so most of you in your second year of college, you have 2 more years of college. This will change again before you hit college. These things will automatically, start to change. Google just announced, so we always called it GAFE, G-A-F-E, Google Apps for Education, right? It's now going to be Google Workplace, because Workplace is the new branding that they created for the workforce, but now it's going to be Google Workplace for Education. And they're changing a lot of things, how Meet is run, how Classroom is used. They're starting to change things. So by the time you guys have classes, you'll definitely have the basics, and that's what this class is, the basics. But you have to keep up on it because these things will change. And if you don't keep up on it, you'll kind of fade yourself out in the ability to use technology. So again, we're building a library. I'm not saying that when you guys go get a job, this is the end all be all. This is the basics, and you got to keep playing because it definitely changes on a consistent basis. All right, make your text boxes a little more interesting with word art. So if we come up here and we insert and we click word art, again, we use this in the scavenger hunt, but hello, everyone. And I click it, right? There it is. And the nice part about it is you have colors that you can add in, right? So I'm going to add it. It kind of matches my theme. My outlines, I'm going to make it yellow, but I'm going to make my border a little thicker so that you can see my yellow border a little better, right? And then you can see Mary Kate added the drop shadow in this. Again, just click it, and you can change the color of the drop shadow. That's kind of like a pea green. I don't really know, but there you go. And there's my drop shadow. So word art allows you to take your basic text and really alter it to give a whole new look to what you're trying to do. And again, when you're building this week, when you're building your lesson plans for this week, you have two to do. You have one that is kind of teacher student focused, where you're giving a lecture and you want them to respond to different things. And then you have one where they have to do something on a slide as a group and work together. So maybe you use some of these things in your building of that second lesson to try and make it a little bit more interesting, not just a plain broken slide or basic slide. I don't mean broken, but basic slide. Now, Chrome shortcuts. We talked, I want to say, in one of these presentations, because I feel like I just do videos nonstop, right? We talked about Control C for copy and Control V for paste. But if you come on this little link, you will see that there are all sorts of, if you have a PC, you click there. A Mac here, I use Chrome. Look at all of the shortcuts you can use to do things. Okay, which is, that's there's a lot of shortcuts. I don't think I could remember them all. My big ones that I use all the time: copy, cut, paste, create a link. I don't see that one right here. I know it's in there though because I do it all the time. That's Control K. So it's there's a lot that you can do. So again, I'm leaving this up there for you guys to look at and view. And you can use that as your own way of accomplishing your goal. Let's see. So some next level items, some things that kind of take us a little bit bigger. So you can create master slides. All right. So you may want to do this for your second project, right? The one where different groups get part of a presentation to work with. So you can create a master slide. And what that means is the background is established. You put in information, and then they have to fill in the information. They can't touch the master slide that you've already put in. And I like that. I do like that for group work stuff, because what I'll say is I want them all to put their names, right? I need to know who's in a group name, and you'll want to do that too. So I'll create master slides, and at the top we'll have, group member 1, group member 2, group member 3, right? They can't erase that. They have to put their names, next to it. Or I'll put, here's the question I want you to answer. Well, I don't want them to erase that answer because I want to see that answer later. I want whoever's reading that slide to look at that answer or that question. So I leave that in there as part of the master slide. And then they can still do all their other stuff, but it creates just a way to make sure that when you go back later, you're like, all right, I know I asked a question to group number 3, but man, I can't remember what that question was. Well, now they can't erase it. It stays. It's a master slide, and you can edit it. They cannot. So it definitely does go a little bit next level in some of the things that you're working on to try and make sure that they are staying focused. So if you click on here, it will show you, it'll walk you through the process. Again, I could walk you through the process, but honestly, there's only so many hours in a day, and I know that listening to me and watching me is not what you have planned every night. All right, word and picture sorts. All right, so again, there's some step-by-step directions, but again, you have to think about the groups that you're working with. So if I click on here, all right, this is one that you can see as a guiding example. Right? 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish, right? Sorting game. And it shows you, all right, give me a red, give me a 1, give me a blue, give me big, give me 2. All right. So you can create this kind of animation, this kind of game, so that your students are learning. Listen, that looks fun, right? It looks kind of cool, all right? But they're learning and they're getting something out of it. They're learning the group, they're learning the pair, they're learning how to use a Venn diagram. It's all the things that kind of work. So you can definitely create something like this if you wanted to say, hey guys, we're going to work on maybe if you're doing a group project in your activity for this lesson, all right, you say, hey, we need to come up with a way to learn how to group based on an idea, right? This is perfect. Make a PowerPoint or a slideshow presentation with something like that and copy each one, right? And then let them kind of work as a group and figure it out. That's using technology to take things one step further. It's using technology to do something very simple. You can draw this on the board, right? And say, okay, blue goes in here. That's it. All right. Yeah, but why not let them find blue and move them in? Why not? Here's big and blue. That guy should go right in here, right? So allow yourself the ability to be creative and kind of play with some of these things. And there's all sorts of stuff that you can use and you can grab, right? Now, yes, could you, if you were a teacher, just use this presentation and run with it? Absolutely. As a student in my class, no. You need to build your own. Be creative and come up with it. All right? Anyone can go on and just take something. I want you guys to be creative and think outside the box. Your time as a teacher is just starting. And if you don't have creativity now, you may never ever get it. So don't think you can just jump on here and be like, well, use that one for my thing. All right. Take your time, build something. The concept might be kind of there, but start thinking about what you can do to build. All right. So again, there's all sorts of things that you can use in these to kind of help you. Magnetic poetry. I'm just going to jump on one or two because I want you guys to see some really good ideas. All right. Shake up learning magnetic poetry. All right. So this goes all through how to create this. And really, here it is. The idea that you're let's just click here to make a copy. Let's just see what it looks like, right? And again, we're making a copy. It's safe. It should show up right now. This one it has a template, right? We're using a template in this one. So I would very easily type my name here, right? All right. Do not auto fit, shrink text overflow. So there is even some editable areas. And you know what? These are also pretty cool for it, but it's just not letting me type now. Okay, there we go. So you put your name in there, right? So now the person grading it or looking at it knows what it is. And you drop and drag some of these items, make a poem, create poetry, all right? It's just a way, again, to do something we've always done. Write a poem. All right, well, that's great, but how can I build upon it and use technology to do it? This would be a great just way to start a class and put up a slide presentation and say, okay, guys, give me one word that describes, how you felt on that last test, being school appropriate, of course, right? But think about it. Like, isn't that a great way just to kind of use Google Slides? It's just a way to kind of build your thought process with your students, get them to start thinking about some of the words that they can use to describe things. Let's see, where are we at here? All right, so those are some picture sorts. You can create something like this on your own, right? Word sort, put nouns and verbs, all right? And they just grab it. All right, I guess house is not a verb, house is a noun, right? So you just grab it and move it. And you use that to, again, teach your students without just the traditional writing. All right. Embed a video from Drive, right? Students can create their own videos. I use Screencastify constantly. It's free, up to 5 minutes. You will be using this. You will be doing what I'm doing right here. Yeah, right here, right? You'll be doing that soon. You will have to create a 5-minute lesson video that you tape. It is odd in the beginning, but at this point, I just don't care anymore. And you'll have to embed it and use it. And it's a great way to get students to talk about things. Other awesome ideas, right? Social media templates. If you click, Instagram is big, right? Again, you got to tell your students, you got to be PG, right? We got to keep it, keep it kind of minimal. But here's an Instagram template that they can use. I personally, excuse me, have loved the Facebook template. Now, I know for some of you, you're like, what's Facebook? Because it's for old people. But I've loved using this, right? Because I get them to think about a specific person, their biography, who they would talk to, who their friends are, pictures of things that they've done, some status updates. Really kind of fun to do. Twitter, this one was awesome. I did this two years ago against, right? I don't know if you guys have all seen Hamilton, right? The musical, right? Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson, not the best of friends. They did not like each other, right? So we had a Twitter war between Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton, and they argued back and forth in this Google Slides. They're different tweets to each other. Really just a great way. They were allowed one tweet a day. Had to be in class, and I just said, okay, you have 5 minutes. Go do your tweet for today, and it could be a response to yesterday's tweet. It could be something new that they wanted to bring up, and they just battled back and forth every day. And it was really just a fun way to use Google Slides to get them to understand the argument of Jefferson and Hamilton and what their problems were with each other. Right? Again, I could have had them write a paper. I could have just said, everybody write a funny tweet or a tweet that you could use, right? But this, they looked forward to every day. They would come in, great in their groups, and they were all over coming up with what their tweet was going to be for the day. Really kind of fun way to get students to be involved. All right, so you guys can definitely look at some of the other ones there. All right, infographics and organizers. Again, infographing is pretty fun. This is another way to get students to kind of join together and think about some of the things that they can do. So here's 21 editable Google templates for infographics, right? And you can grab topic versus topic, student certificates, Time Magazine cover. So, excuse me, I apologize. But it is all sorts of different things that you can use to kind of get them to think beyond the basic Google slide. Let's see. Let's keep moving here. A continuous presentation, right? You can create so if I come up here, all right, when I'm done, right, I make a presentation. I've used these for like on my website for parents to look at, or for a back to school night. If I wasn't going to be there for some reason, I could put this on my either website, or I would create a QR code. I've done both, and all you do is you publish to a website, right? And it says every 3 seconds, and you just go through and you publish. Boom. It says, do you want to publish? Yes. And now I'm going to do every 3 seconds. I can do 5, 10, 15, every minute, change what it is. Start the slideshow the minute it loads, right? So if they do a QR code and they put their phone to the QR code, and as soon as it loads up, the presentation starts. I can do restart as soon as it's done the last one. So there are ways to make a continuous running presentation, all right? Would I put that on my website? Not really running continuously. Reason being is as you are bouncing from place to place, if you're looking on your websites for different things, you don't want to miss something. You don't want your slideshow running in the background, and then they come back from another page and go, wait a minute, now I have no idea where they are. So I don't usually do like a running slideshow. Right? I like them to be able to advance on their own, but it is definitely able to. All right, like I said, we were told as a history department to use technology so that we could have a more informative freshman orientation for our parents, right? So all of the teachers, all the other teachers, they made PowerPoint, they made presentations, right? And each teacher would read a little bit of it. I told my guys, listen, because it's for history guys. I said, yo, listen, we're gonna each make a little video, and we're going to QR code it, and then we're going to print that out, and the parents can just use their phone and QR code. They can listen to our presentation whenever they want, but we're going to answer questions, and we're going to go over how-tos about high school and that kind of stuff, and we're going to be more informative about the high school experience, not just the history department. And people loved it, and it was just using a slideshow as a talk over, and we made a QR code of it. Just a great way to use technology, once again, to go beyond the basics. And I will say many of the departments hated us because now they all have to do that. So they were kind of mad that we, kind of took us beyond the norm. You can make digital flip books. All right. And if you go through here, you can see examples and presentations, right? This is a digital flip book. All right. How cool is it that you can grab animation and make something like this? Your students would have a blast doing something like this. All right. This looks like some of the little video games my son finds on my phone. All right. I think Johnny Trigger looks just like this. All right. So it's just a concept that you can build and you can get them to do way beyond. Storybooks, student created storybooks presentation. There's a great template. I'll just pull it up just so we can see. And again, you have to make your own copies. This one says view only. Again, if you just come up here, you erase everything. I'm just going to kind of show you. See that backslash right there? Everything beyond that backslash, erase and type copy. It will make a copy for you, and you can use that whenever you want. It puts it right in your drive. But if you look, this is a great storybook template that you can add pictures and all sorts of text and things like that, and the students can use to build their own. And you're going to see later on, we're going to talk about how to, my brain today has just not been keeping up. Branch. How to branch, and you're going to go from this slide, and then they can pick what slide they want to go to, and then from those slides they can pick what other slides they want to go to, right? Almost like a choose your own adventure kind of thing. A fun way to get students involved. All right, creating a comic strip is kind of cool for some of your students that are more artistic and want to do something in that way. Well, choose your own adventure. All right, this is the one I was talking about, branching out, right? What would happen? How would if you pick this button, it'll take you to this slide. If you pick this button, it takes you to this slide. You can create your own adventure. Students love that, especially if they're creative and they're trying to express their creativity. It gives them a way to kind of really build out some of the ideas that are going on. Self-grading quizzes, you can format so that the choose your own adventure is almost like a quiz, right? So for instance, if you are talking about, let's just talk about the Civil War, right? Just for the heck of it, again, history person, right? And you say, okay, the Battle of Gettysburg happened, July 1st through 3rd, all this stuff, right? And you put on the bottom, the north winds, click here, the south winds, click here, right? So then they go through and they click which one they think, and that takes them somewhere else. Well, listen, at the end, because they clicked wrong, most of everything else after that's going to be kind of wrong. You're going to know, listen, evidently somewhere you went wrong. Let's find out where you went wrong and kind of create a discussion on why you went wrong. I picked the South one, the Battle of Gettysburg. All right, how do we know that they didn't win? And you talk it through. It's kind of a fun way to get them to really kind of think about what's going on in their adventures. You can create an app, all right, using slides. Parents can actually download it into their phone and put it on their home screen and click it, and it becomes the presentation will open up, and you can make them interactive where they push on different things. It's kind of really a cool thing to do. I actually did an entire presentation on that. If we had a 102 and 103 part 2, those are kind of things that we would add into so I could show you how to build those kind of things, right? What better way to communicate with parents than to have an app that they jump onto and they can see everything that's going on. Interactive digital notebooks. Again, we looked at one earlier, but here's some other ideas on how you can do it. When you guys did the theories, right? I used an online digital notebook. I mean, that's basically, grabbed a template, I kind of erased what I didn't want, I added some things that I did want, and built an interactive digital notebook that you guys could then use to follow some of your theories, all right, and see what was going on. Game show templates, they're all over the place. These are awesome to use. Students have a good time. And you know what? You can even have your students build games out of them. I'm going to show you later Jamboard. You guys are going to have to build a game in Jamboard that teaches an entire lesson, to kind of start thinking about how you could build a game board, and then I'll show you how it all works. It's funny, I just had my juniors do it. And when we were doing it and they were making it, the frustration level in some of them was massively high. So I opened up the chat in our Google Meet and said, guys and gals, if you are having questions about stuff, either ask me or ask your classmates. Talk to each other. And, I don't know how to link this. I can't find this. What do I do this? And the conversations just started going to the point where some of their games were just so creative. I don't know if they hit every aspect of the history portion that I want them to do, but it did. It got them thinking and being creative and having fun and it was kind of really cool. And especially in this pandemic situation, sometimes we got to take a step back from, hey, we're constantly just studying history, to, hey, this is, let's take it 2 days and build a game and have some fun, right? Here's some great ways to do it. All right. And then the scavenger hunt is what we're doing together, so you do not have to worry about that. And the course tracker is all taken care of. You guys don't have that anymore. I took that out from you guys. We don't do that. We use Google Classroom now, so it is kind of nice. I should probably get rid of that slide for next year. But all right, so you have an overview of Google Slides and some of the things that you can do, some templates that you can find. So go on and watch the videos about what is expected this week. There's a video about the scavenger hunt, so you will do that together. Again, make sure that goes into Google Classroom based on the module, right? I think this week's module 4 for us, so it's got to go in the module 4 so I can find it. You're going to create your lesson for the week, and the lesson has got to be based on something using the Google Slides, with the creation of a Pear Deck inside. So make sure you watch that video, right? But you still have to have the rest of your lesson plans, right? You got to have your do now. You got to create all of the things that you would normally create in a lesson. Remember, I told you guys, I do this 6 days a week or 5 days a week, 6 times a day. I build lessons, 30 lessons a week. You can do one from beginning to end, right? So get your do now, find your standards. You're using the 2 Google Slides presentations for your procedure this week. And the first is the Pear Deck. The second is the interactive one where they work in groups where they can all edit the same Google Slides, right? And there are videos on both of those. The scavenger hunt is turned in by itself on Classroom. The lesson plan will have the Pear Deck Google Slides and will have the interactive group work slides linked in the procedure. All right, so you do not put them in Classroom by themselves. When I get into your lesson plan, I want to be able to click on those items and they will take me to your 2 presentations as well. Make sure they are all in your drive, right? Because if they're not in your correct folder in your drive, then I don't have access to them. All right, I'm going to start getting a little bit more strict that if I don't have access, you don't get a grade, okay? I'm being as generous as I can, but at the same time, this is a big deal. So start working on that, all right? You got to start making sure you put things in the right places. I look forward to seeing all of you. Don't forget, I have office hours on Monday. That link is at the top of the webpage, all right? And I know I've had a couple people complain that they're getting confused on where to go. I built the web page in a very simple manner. It does look pretty much like your modules in Canvas, but I honestly believe this is a much better way to do it because when you get Canvas, everything's kind of, you go here for this, you go here for this, you go here for this. I tried to seriously make it so that when you click on 102 module 4, everything you need from 102 module 4 is there. All right, so take your time. Please don't rush. I've also had people ask me, well, I don't understand where I turn this in at. And yet, just like this one, at the end of the video, I explain where I want it turned in at. So please use these, not just skipping through. All right, hope to see you soon. And I will talk to all or some of you in class.